Grace Walker trudged through the quiet, rain-soaked street, her coat clinging to her shoulders as grocery bags cut into her fingers. The dim streetlights blurred in the drizzle, mirroring the haze in her life since the divorce. Each raindrop seemed to echo her exhaustion, steady, lonely, and endless. When Ethan Reed appeared, umbrella in hand, his presence felt almost unreal. 19, polite and unexpectedly gentle, he lifted the bags from her arms with an easy smile. Inside, as they unpacked together, the silence felt strangely warm, a fragile, unfamiliar comfort Grace hadn't allowed herself in years. Then, Ethan said it, quietly, sincerely. "You shouldn't have to do everything alone, Mrs. Walker." The words landed softly but struck deep. Grace froze, heart aching with recognition. For the first time in a long while, someone saw her, not as a mother, not as a divorcee, but as a woman who was tired of being unseen. Grace Walker's days had become a quiet rhythm of survival, shelving books, forcing smiles, and pretending not to notice how empty her home felt. Once a beloved teacher, now she spent her hours among paperbacks and silence. Since the divorce, Noah had grown distant, his teenage anger closing doors she didn't know how to reopen. Ethan Reed, Noah's friend, was a rare presence of calm. Despite his troubled home, a father lost to addiction, a mother working nights, he carried a quiet maturity. He lingered at their house often, drawn by the stability Grace unconsciously offered, something he lacked but deeply craved. When Grace discovered Noah skipping classes, her fragile patience cracked. The confrontation exploded into shouts and slammed doors, leaving the house ringing with hurt. Later, Ethan found her alone, shaken. His words, "He doesn't hate you. He just doesn't know how to talk to you anymore," pierced her silence with unexpected compassion. The call from school hit Grace like a familiar ache. Noah suspended for fighting. She rushed over, heart pounding with disappointment and fear. Amid the chaos, Ethan was already there, calmly helping diffuse tension. His steadiness surprised her. When he said softly, "I just wish someone had been like you for me," her breath caught. After that day, something subtle shifted. Grace began noticing Ethan beyond Noah's shadow, the quiet way he listened, the sadness tucked behind his polite smiles. She started leaving extra dinner portions when he visited. Small gestures she didn't admit meant more to her than simple hospitality. Then came the night Noah stormed out again, anger echoing through the house. Grace found Ethan on the porch, shoulders tense, eyes wet with frustration. His father had relapsed. When he murmured, "You make this house feel safe," the words lingered between them, fragile and heavy, drawing an unspoken understanding neither dared name. Grace began to notice her thoughts drifting toward Ethan more than she wanted to admit. His kindness, his calm, it unsettled her. At work, her co-workers teased her about the new light in her eyes. She laughed it off, but guilt gnawed quietly. She was caring too deeply for someone far too young. Noah's suspicion grew with every visit Ethan made. What once felt like family warmth turned brittle with tension. Grace tried to distance herself, insisting Ethan focus on his studies. But he kept appearing, fixing things, checking in, his concern sincere, his presence a comfort she both needed and feared. One stormy night, thunder cracked through the silence as the lights went out. Ethan stayed to repair the fuse, finding Grace trembling in the dark. Memories of her failed marriage surfaced, breaking her composure. When he comforted her, she almost leaned in, then pulled back, whispering, "You shouldn't be here." His reply, quiet yet steady, "I know, but I didn't want you to be alone." The night unraveled in seconds. Grace, shaken after learning her mother was hospitalized, broke down in tears. Ethan, instinctively gentle, pulled her into a comforting hug, nothing more. But when Noah walked in, the sight froze him. His face twisted with fury and disbelief, his voice cutting through the silence like glass. Noah's accusations came hard and fast: betrayal, shame, disgust. Grace tried to explain, words tumbling uselessly. Ethan stood frozen, mortified, unable to defend himself without deepening the misunderstanding. Finally, he fled into the rain, leaving Grace collapsed on the kitchen floor, sobbing under the weight of heartbreak and guilt. The following day, Ethan's mother appeared at the bookstore, eyes tired but grateful. She said softly, "Ethan told me you're the first adult who ever made him believe people can be kind." Grace's breath caught. It wasn't love Ethan sought, it was safety. Yet Noah, blinded by anger, would never understand that truth. Grace finally gathered the courage to face Noah, sitting across from him at the kitchen table. She spoke with trembling honesty about her loneliness, her mistakes, and the emptiness she'd tried to fill. "Sometimes kindness can be misunderstood," she said softly. "But that doesn't make it wrong." Her voice cracked, but her heart steadied. Noah's defenses crumbled. For the first time, he admitted feeling abandoned after the divorce, lost between resentment and silence. The two cried together, years of pain dissolving in shared vulnerability. Grace didn't justify her choices. She simply owned them. In that moment, mother and son began to heal. Weeks later, Ethan returned, older somehow, carrying quiet gratitude. He thanked Grace for treating him like family, for giving him warmth he never knew he needed. After he left, Grace stood at the window calm and whole. She no longer needed approval or affection. She'd finally forgiven herself and found peace in her own strength. Months later, Grace wandered through the quiet halls of the college gallery, her steps slow, steady. When she saw Ethan's painting, Home, her breath caught. The portrait showed a woman in a doorway, bathed in golden light. Strong, gentle, alone, yet finally at peace. It was unmistakably her. Tears welled as she gazed at the canvas, the ache in her chest softening into warmth. She smiled through the blur, whispering, almost to herself, "You shouldn't have to do everything alone, Mrs. Walker." For the first time, those words didn't sting. They felt like freedom. She believed them now. As she walked away, her thoughts formed a quiet truth. Sometimes, the words that stay with us aren't confessions of love, but reminders that we deserve to be seen, even in our quietest battles. Grace stepped into the sunlight outside, her heart lighter, her story, finally, whole.